Welcome to the GridML training videos. In this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to use the GridML view option. So let's get started. First thing we'll do is bring up a browser screen and type in gridml.com. And first of all, for viewing, I just wanted to show you that the first tab on the GridML main screen has an area called Schema Visualization, which gives information about the viewing options, and you can review that if you like, but in this video I want to actually show you step by step. So the first thing we'll do is click on the user sign in button to log in to GridML, and that will bring up whatever schema file we have loaded as our default already. In this case, we have a MISMO schema for the ILAD specification, which is the Industry Loan Application Dataset. And this is a specific type of schema, but the view options I'm going to show you apply to any type of schema. So the first thing we'll do is notice that the deal element is selected. That's the root element that was selected for us to start as a starting point. And when you click on the deal element or the root element, it shows you in the column to the right of that the sequence of child elements that are contained under deal, like about, versions, assets, collateral, and so on. And there's a little bit of information that's provided with each. For example, within the MISMO schema, it says that these are defined as a sequence of these elements, meaning they must appear sequentially in this order. Now, whether they actually appear or not is determined by this little number to the right here where it says 0.1, and what that indicates is that each particular element can appear either 0 times or 1 time, meaning that they're optional. But the sequence of these elements must happen 1 time. In other words, it's always a sequence. If we click on one of the elements, like say collaterals, what this shows will bring up what the contents of collateral are in the next column. And each one that I click on, notice in the far right area of the screen, it shows the name of that element, collaterals, and its definition as defined in the schema if there is one. And notice that it also repeats details that were shown here in shorthand, like 0.1. Here it's shown min occurs is 0, max occurs is 0. And if you don't remember what min occurs is, if you put your cursor over that little I with a circle around it, that's an information box. It gives the definition, which specifies the minimum number of times this element can occur within its parent. And if we hover over max occurs, it says the maximum number of times the element can occur within its parent. And below that is a definition, a namespace, and that gives a definition. And all a namespace is meaning it identifies which organization created these definitions in the structure, which in this case is MISMO.org, which is the Mortgage Industry Standards Maintenance Organization. And these are the residential schemas for residential. If we click on collateral, we see that there's a choice. The schema says that next you have a choice between either pledged asset or subject property. In other words, you have to choose one of those two in the XML data when this is created from using the schema definition, followed by collateral detail. If we click on subject property, notice it brings up another option here showing the child elements of subject property, and these are also, notice, are all optional. If we click on a specific one, let's go down here to property detail, and with that we can see individual data elements. Notice these are all also optional. If we click on any one of these, let's say Community Land Trust Indicator, in the far right column, again, it shows the name of that element and its definition. It shows min occurs 0, max occurs 1. There's another schema element. These are getting a little more technical, but if you want to know what they mean, you just hover the mouse over it. It says specifies whether null values can be used in this element in an XML file. Below that, it also shows that it's a MISMO indicator, which is a MISMO type of data, and MISMO provides a definition for that. And then there's more schema technical language here that defines what this MISMO indicator is based on. It's based on the W3C or the XSD Boolean, and is any simple type. If you're business oriented, you don't really need to know about these. Just for more technical users, it gives whatever is defined within the schema file. GridML will display that information. When we click on another one of these, construction method type, notice over here on the right it says it's an enumerated value, and then it lists the enumerated values and their definitions. So in other words, construction method type in an XML file can have either the value manufactured with that definition, mobile home with that definition, modular, on-frame modular, and so on. The definitions are provided for those. If a data point has attributes with it defined within the schema, those will also appear in a column here, and these are the attributes that can be used. Notice these are all listed as optional, but these are data attributes that can be used. In other words, if we look at data not supplied reason type, this is a MISMO attribute which has been defined for pretty much any of these data elements. And if you were required by the specification that you're using to show why data was not provided for this value, you could see the values that MISMO has defined: not collected, not received, not relevant, or just omitted. So that gives a brief overview of the types of data. We can jump around wherever we want. If we want to look at loans and see the contents of that, we can jump loan. To the right of that, it shows the breakdown, construction, and then these are construction related elements. So the view option allows you to kind of browse through the structure anywhere you want, looking at the values. Another useful feature of GridML is this area down here at the bottom. Notice when I select any particular data element like deal, loans, notice down here it starts building up a path that is showing the a list of the path that we're traveling down as we go through the structure. Now we're in deal, loans, loan. Notice that's shown down here. If we go into billing address, that appears down here, and as far as we go, it keeps building up this path. And what that can be useful for is for business analysts or people who are developing specifications, in implementation guides or mapping guides. This is handy, and GridML allows you to take this information and put it into a mapping guide. And to show this just a little bit step further, I'm going to go into the setup, and I'm going to bring up a second schema here. This is going to load the list of schema repositories that I've loaded, and in my miscellaneous one, I have another type of schema, this generated activate MI, which is a type of a Open API schema, which is different from XML. It holds, this is defining JSON data for those of you who are familiar with that. So what it asks me to do is select the root elements I want to use for viewing and searching. So I'm going to add this one in with the activate MI request as the root element. This time I'm going to go up here and go briefly into search, and note that we have another video that shows details of that. But for here, for the purposes of this demonstration, I just want to show, let's search on MI service type. And notice as I typed in MI service type, it found two results in the ILAD schema, and in this new schema it found one result. And what I'm going to do is go back into show how that applies down here in this area. I have a fake mapping document that I've created. I have 3 green columns on the left that show the Mismo ILAD data, and then I have 4 columns over here on the right showing the Open API JSON data, and this is typical what a business analyst would use. So what I'm going to do first is in this first tab, which has the Mismo data, I'm going to bring up the services, MI service type, and I'm going to get it from the MI application request. And here is the location. Notice if I click on this, here it's showing me the path: deal, services, service, MI application request, and MI application. And notice since I've clicked on that, it has built that path down here in this line. And this is called, in XML schemas, this is called an XPath, which is why this checkbox is listed here. I can click that box here. It says copy full XPath. And then if I bring up my worksheet that I have created, I can go click into this box, right click on it, and say paste, and then notice it will paste that XPath into my document. The next one I have here is data element and a data definition. The data element that I'm interested in is, for this exercise, is MI service type, and notice over here it shows the definition for MI service type. But if I want to paste that into my worksheet, I can go, and the definition, I can say include definition and copy the name. And what that did is it copied this name and this definition, so that when I go back to my worksheet, I can click on this field here, right click and select the paste option, and notice it pastes the name and the definition. Now let's do the same thing for the JSON equivalent to that, and notice when I did search, it searched in both areas. If I click on the activate MI request, which is the Open API schema, it found one result under service type, and if I click on that, the container that it's located in, which is MI application request, notice that here we have the JSON option selected, because it knows that this is a JSON file, and here is the JSON path for that. If I say click on copy full path, it copies that. Now when I go back to the spreadsheet, I can click on the Open API JSON path and click the paste option, and notice it pasted that path in there. Next, I can select Open API data element and Open API data definition. Let's do the same thing that we did before. This time we're interested in the MI service type, and notice here's the definition for that. And if I want to copy that and the definition, I click copy name. If I only wanted to copy the name without the definition, I would uncheck that box. So let's bring up the spreadsheet again, click on the cell that I want to paste it into, click the paste option, and here it pasted the element name and its definition. The next thing it asks that I can paste in, this one has enumerated values, so I can go back to this spreadsheet here, and here's a list of the enumerated values. So I can drag my mouse across these, right click on it and say copy. And now when I go back into my spreadsheet, if I actually click into the spreadsheet, in other words double click on it, and then select paste, it will paste the enumerated values that were in the schema into our document. So this gives a quick overview of the view options and showing how you can use this path down here at the bottom of the screen to paste those values into a mapping worksheet, which, like I said before, is a typical function that a business analyst might do if they're creating an iGuide or a mapping worksheet or a specifications worksheet. So thank you very much. Look for our other videos. There's another video that reviews the search options. And thank you. Hope this was useful information.